Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the TradingPub.com daily report. And real quick before we get started, just give you a second to read through this risk disclaimer. Again, we're not giving any kind of financial advice here, just sharing with you some of our general thoughts on the market and some important areas that we see. The TradingPub rule of the day is to remember that cash is a position. Again, we've had a pretty good up move in the market. There's several things that are causing uncertainty to keep an eye on. We've got earnings season coming up. So again, we're not saying to go to cash. What we're saying is to remember that cash is a position to have. So sometimes if you don't feel good about a trade or you don't feel good about a particular stock or options or futures trade that you're in, you can go to cash, sit on the sidelines and wait until a better opportunity. Trading is all about waiting for the best opportunities instead of just constantly being in the market all the time. And real quick, before we take a look at the market, I want to look at two things that happened over the weekend that I think everybody needs to be aware of. Number one, the Occupy protests that started out on Occupy Wall Street have now spread to other U.S. cities, now spread international. And really for the first time in Rome, we saw these protests turn violent, very violent, where there was rioting. And, something like that that can start to spread and spread and spread, and you see a lot of violence. And you see here that you had Italian students actually storm Goldman Sachs Milan office. And so just kind of keep an eye on that. If these things continue to escalate, that could be cause for more uncertainty in the markets, which as you guys know, the markets do not like uncertainty. And then the other thing, an article, this is at Benzinga, but if you look at this article, there's a lot of banks that could be downgraded, and so if you look at it, the major rating agencies kind of missed the boat on the housing crisis, and so you're seeing them be a lot more proactive. You saw the U.S. rating downgrade, and you're seeing that they've put in more than a dozen banks on credit watch. There's also some rumors going around about Germany and France possibly getting some downgrades. So again, extremely important to understand that, and this is a good source of news here. You can come up here and look at corporate earnings, general news, trading ideas, and other things like that at benzinga.com. So again, very helpful site to look at, and you can get news delivered free in the morning. Just kind of get a daily update as far as what's going on in the world and in the markets. So again, very important. All right, now let's take a look at the current markets. And we're going to highlight three markets today. We always look at the S&P because, as we've talked about in weeks past, it's extremely important to understand what the overall market's doing. Also, the euro is extremely important right now. I think regardless of what market you're trading, you've got to be watching the euro right now. And if you look at this, you see the euro looks a lot like the S&P chart. And that's because all the fear and all the worry about the European crisis with Greece, and you're seeing as the euro goes down, the market goes down. As the euro goes up, the market goes up. So if you continue to see the euro get weaker today, then that's going to provide some downward pressure on the market. And again, a pivot area we're using as a major support is this 135 area. We've talked about it several times. Now let's take a look at the S&Ps. Notice we came back up. We actually tested the 1230 area. We mentioned this area last week if we had gotten through the 20 area. So again, 1230 to 1233 is pretty good resistance. Let's take a look at the overnight session and see what numbers we can come up with for today. So if you look at the overnight session, notice we rallied pretty much throughout Asia. The first little dip came down to 1222, so you're going to want to remember that number. This is on the S&P futures. Whether or not you trade futures, you should definitely have an eye on them because it's extremely important to understand what happens in the overnight session. And the futures track that overnight session here. We came up to 1230, so 1230 is definitely going to be resistance. And then we came back down. Notice we bounced at 1220. We came down again. Last week, the number we talked about several times was 1216. Talked about that 1216 futures number. One day we ran up right to 16 quarter, then sold off. Then we finally broke through it and traded higher. But look here, even in the overnight session, look how many times we bounced off 16. You had a low here at 16 half, 16 quarter, 16 even, 1575. So a lot of support here at 16. We've now broken through that. If to the downside, we're going to have some support down here at 1206, and then if we start to break 1206, we'll expect a test down around 1200, 1196. And the way that helps you as a stock trader, if the S&Ps are selling off, majority of stocks are going to be selling off. If S&Ps are rallying, majority of stocks are going to be rallying. So two things you've got to have on your quote page, the S&P futures and the euro as well. Now the other market I want to take a look at is gold. And here's a look at the daily chart on gold. Last week we talked about some consolidation that we were seeing. It looks like we did break out to the upside, people that are bullish on gold are going to want to see gold stay above this 1655 area. So again, track 1655 is a big support area. 1700, again, kind of obvious resistance, but again, 1655 I think is going to be an important area because it sort of started to break out, and for this breakout to continue, you want to see gold stay above 1655. Alright, I hope you enjoyed today's report. And again, just a quick reminder, our next event is going to be on October 27th at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. We're going to have a bull versus bear options shootout where we bring in 2 professional options traders, look at different stocks that are in play, and talk about whether or not they'd be bullish or bearish and which strategies they use. You can register for that by going to TradingPub.com and clicking Pub Events.